Okay, so now that we have found out how to convert numbers from base 8 into base 10, let's go and convert the numbers from base 10 back into base 8. So first of all, let's clean up our workspace a little bit here. Okay, and we'll need to start just like before with a number, and let's just take any number, let's say 4,000. Okay, now this next number after 512, this place value, is going to be 4,096. Okay, so 4,096. Okay, the problem is that obviously 4,000 does not fit into this place value, so this place value is too large, meaning that this place value is our starting point. Now, one thing a lot of people forget is that we're working in base 8 so we can have multiples, so we can multiply this number. A lot of people just think, well, 512 plus 64 plus 8 plus 1 is not going to be enough to get to 4,000, but it will be, and I'll show you why. Okay, so what we need to do is first look at this number and say, okay, well, 512 is our starting point. So how many times does 512 fit into 4,000? Okay, well, let's see. 512 fits in 7 times. So 7 times 512 would be 3,584. And so 3, 5, 8, 4. Okay, meaning that we have accounted for that many of the numbers. So that leaves us with 416 numbers remaining. Okay, so now how many times does 64 go into 416? Well, that's 6 times. Okay, so then we have 6 times 64 is 384. 384. Now, that would mean that there are 32 place values remaining. Okay, now 8 obviously goes into 32 4 times, and we have 32 minus 8, which would be 0, meaning we have nothing left to account for at the end. Okay, so this number, 7640, is equivalent to 4,000 in base 8. All right, so that's converting from base 8, or sorry, from base 10 back into base 8. Now finally, let's go to base 16. Okay, let's clean up the workspace again. Now, base 16 is a little bit weird, mainly because in all the other bases that we've worked with so far, we count up to 1 less than the base. But in base 16, we can't really represent a 15 in a place value like this. Otherwise, we wouldn't know if this 1 was part of this place value or part of this value. It would look kind of weird. So instead, what we do is we substitute the numbers from 10 to 15 with letters. So the number 10 becomes A, number 11 becomes B, C is number 12, D is number 13, and E 14, and F is 15. Okay, so let's see how this works. Okay, so we're going to need everything in 16 again, just as before. Now, we're really not going to work with a very big number in this case because when we're working at base 16, the place values are going to get really, really big really fast. Okay, change my brush. So this is 16 to the power of 0, 16 to the power of 1, and 16 squared. Okay, so we have 16 to the power of 0, which is 1. 16 to the power 1, which is 16, and 16 squared, which is 256. Okay, you can see that these numbers are going to get really, really big really fast. So this next place value is 4,096. Okay, so let's first start with converting from base 16 to base 10. Let's take a number. Let's go with something simple like 1F, well, let's do 1C7. Okay, now it looks kind of weird, but the basic premise is the same. So what we get is we have 1 times 256 plus C. Now, if you remember, A is 10, B is 11, C is 12. So it's 12 times 16 plus 7 times 1. Okay, so what we get there is 256 plus 12 times 16, which is 192, plus 7. Okay, so that's going to be 455. So 455. So this number 1C7 is equivalent to 455 in base 10. Okay, and going back the other way is exactly the same as before. I just did a little bit too much there. Okay, so let's take a number like 1,000. Well, let's go 111. So 1,111. Okay, well, first of all, we have to ask, obviously, this place value is too big to start it. So here's our starting point. So what we have is, how many times is 256 going to go into 1,111? Okay, the answer is 4 times. Okay, 4 times 256 is 1,024. So we got 1,024 of these numbers counted for. Okay, so if we subtract that, that's 87. Okay, now how many times does 16 go into 87? Well, it goes in 5 times. So we have 5 times, and 5 times 16 is 80, which would be 7. And that means 7 times 1. So we have 457, which is equal to 1,111 in base 10. And that's pretty much it. Hopefully this is a good explanation for you, and hopefully it was helpful. Thanks for watching my video, and yeah, happy number converting.